Joining us to talk about the ongoing debate over gun control is Joseph Williams. He is a news analyst and a former senior news editor at U.S. News and World Report. Joseph, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, look, after a tragedy such as the one in Buffalo, there are always efforts to reform gun laws, hold gun makers accountable. But if Sandy Hook didn't sway opinions, I've heard people say, what will? And now we have this.
Well, you're absolutely right on that point. If getting 20 elementary school kids massacred in their classrooms along with a few teachers, even Congress had two of their own. Gabby Giffords and a number of congressmen, Steve Scalise was one of them, who were shot at a baseball game not a few years ago. Then nothing will do this. I mean, we have lawmakers who are, at the federal level at least, who are in the thrall of the NRA, who are in the thrall of gun manufacturers, and we're reaping the effects of several laws that prevent lawsuits from gun manufacturers, lawsuits against gun manufacturers, I should say, holds them not liable. It indemnifies them against horrific acts like these. So there really is not much to do except give these platitudes and make wholesale change at the ballot box. But so far, given those statistics and given the polling, it seems like the American initiative has kind of been to kind of shrug and live with this. Yeah. And it happens again and again and again and again, so much so that we've almost become inured to it, and we have a rote playbook where there are vigils, there are profiles of the victims, and there are kind of tut-tuts about why this is the only nation in which this happens.
Yeah, but this time, some different activists are raising their voices, including a civil rights attorney named Ben Crump. Crump wants the Buffalo shooting labeled an act of domestic terrorism. Is he right? And do you think this is going to have an impact in this one?
Well, if there was ever an act of domestic terrorism, this would certainly seem to qualify. You have a killer who came on a spree that was very intentional. He drove 300 miles past his own community, past several other communities to commit this act in a supermarket. He shot elderly women. He shot people who were unarmed. He shot people at a quote-unquote soft target and was not really looking to have a confrontation with anybody with equal firepower. His main goal, according to his screed online and the things that he wrote, was to instill terror and was to prompt a war, prompt a discussion about this so-called white replacement theory. So from his theory that caused his actions to the actions themselves, it seems that domestic terror is the only thing that you can call this.
You know, we've had straw purchases and we've had ghost guns. Catchy names that shield some of the real danger. I'll let you explain what those terms mean. How can we regulate this?
It seems nearly impossible, particularly when you have ghost guns, which are guns that are sold through the mail and kits that people can assemble in their home that aren't traceable, because unlike guns that are manufactured in mass, they aren't stamped with serial numbers, they aren't stamped with lot numbers, so you can't trace them. So they're virtually untraceable. You build them at home. They can range in firepower. And there are some things that the government can't keep an eye on. These guns are sold through the mail, and the manufacturers of these particular pieces of violence don't really have very much compunction about flooding the streets with them. Over the last couple of years, we had a record number of ghost guns captured on the streets. President Biden is urging Congress to take action. He's probably going to take some executive action, but much like in conventional ammunition and conventional guns that are flooding the nation, there's only so much that the president can do. It's really in the hands of Congress, and Congress is sharply divided on this issue, mainly because you have a Republican Party that is unwilling to budge on this at all.
You know, one of the most common cries we hear from gun rights advocates is enforce the laws that are on the books. That does make sense.
Well, it makes sense, but only to a degree, mostly because you have states like the District of Columbia, where guns are being flooded in from out of state. District of Columbia has some of the toughest gun laws in the nation. DC does, as well as Chicago, as well as New York State. But the problem is that the guns are coming from out of state. They're coming from loosely regulated states like Virginia, where you can practically buy a gun in a vending machine. There's no need for a background check. Open carry states like Indiana, the Midwest. So there's an iron pipeline that runs directly through the East Coast, where a lot of these guns are coming from. So the problem that you have with enforcing laws that are on the books is that you have states flooding in, states with lax gun laws that are providing guns in other states and other jurisdictions.
Joseph, you have 30 seconds. The NRA, powerful gun lobby, are they as powerful as they used to be? And why are these lobbyists so powerful? Because the NRA has had so many missteps.
Well, the NRA lobbying has been hollowed out. The problem is you still have a lot of red state Republicans who control half of the Congress whose constituents like open carry laws. They like this at the local level. They like it at the national level. Therefore, when you have one party that is so stubbornly clinging to the fact that we should have guns everywhere, every time, it's very difficult to make progress.
Joseph Williams, always a pleasure. News analyst, former senior news editor for U.S. News and World Report. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.